Before the match even kicked off, one player told reporters plainly that this would be his last World Cup. He was 41 years old, playing in his 6th World Cup, a span stretching back 2 full decades. Across those decades, he'd become the all-time leader in international goals for any men's national team. He'd won league titles, European trophies, continental championships. One prize had always stayed just out of reach. The World Cup itself never came, despite 5 previous attempts across 2 full decades of trying. This tournament, his coach said plainly, would need him if the team hoped to advance any further. The round of 16 brought a familiar continental rival, a tense, cagey matchup few expected to be one-sided. Both sides had reasons for confidence. Both had goalkeepers playing some of the best form of their careers. Neither team looked like conceding easily. This was shaping up to be decided by a single moment. Keep his pre-match words in mind. Nobody yet knew just how quiet this particular farewell would turn out to be. For long stretches of the match, both sides created little of real substance in front of goal. One opposing effort was pushed away brilliantly. One deflected shot cannoned off the crossbar and stayed out. The goalkeeper at the other end also produced a string of important stops through the opening half. Chances for the veteran forward were rare and mostly half chances, deflections, and blocked efforts. At halftime, the match remained scoreless, tense, and still genuinely open in either direction. The second half continued in much the same pattern, cautious, tightly contested, low on clear opportunities. Substitutions began shaping the game more than open play did, each side probing for any small edge. Deep into stoppage time, one attacking substitute slipped a pass through to another attacking substitute. The finish was calm and precise, low into the corner, beyond the goalkeeper's reach at the near post. That single goal, in the final minute of normal time, proved to be the only one of the entire match. The final whistle followed soon after. One team advanced. The other, and its veteran captain, were finished. Afterward, the numbers from his afternoon told a quieter story than his reputation usually suggests. He'd managed only 19 total touches of the ball across the entire 90 minutes of play. 12 of those came in the first half alone, the fewest he'd ever recorded in a World Cup opening half. He attempted only 3 shots the entire match, with the team managing barely any expected goals value at all. Compare that to his form in 3 earlier World Cups, when he averaged nearly 6 shots a game. Back then, he also averaged more than 11 duels contested per 90 minutes on the pitch. This time, that duel number had fallen to roughly a third of what it once was at his physical peak. None of this makes him unusual for a player his age. Decline at 41 is simply physics, not failure. What made it notable was that his coach chose to keep him on the field for the full 90 minutes anyway. The coach explained afterward that a team needing a goal simply couldn't afford to remove that presence. He cited the dead ball threat, the spacing he creates, and the box presence even on a quiet statistical day. Meanwhile, his likely long-term successor, red hot after a hat trick just 1 round earlier, stayed on the bench. In extra time brought on late, that alternative option might have offered a fresher final push forward. The coach later admitted using that option earlier in extra time probably would have made sense tactically. But the match never reached extra time at all. The late goal settled it before that question mattered. Loyalty to a legend and tactical optimization don't always point toward the exact same decision. This time, the team's faith in its captain and the run of play simply didn't line up cleanly. It's a tension every team eventually faces with an aging great. How long do you keep building around them? There's no clean formula for that decision. Every team, every era, and every player forces a different answer. I can't afraid that they have one like his and everything. Let's have rules. 27 career World Cup appearances, second only to one Argentine rival with 30 caps of his own. 11 career World Cup goals, a respectable tally, tied for 9th on the tournament's all-time scoring list. 3 continental championship titles won with his national team across an era of real sustained success. The one trophy that eluded him across 6 attempts was the specific one this tournament exists to award. After the final whistle, cameras caught him applauding the fans, visibly emotional, unable to hold back his feelings. He later told reporters he was leaving with a clear conscience, having given everything he had left to give. He didn't fully rule out more international appearances, but confirmed this specific tournament was his last. His coach called him an example, a role model, someone the sport needed to properly celebrate on the way out. Not every legend gets a storybook final match. Most, statistically, don't, and this was no exception to that. 19 touches and his scoreless personal stat line isn't the ending highlight reels are usually built from. But it is, in its own way, a genuinely honest ending, a great player finally meeting the limits of age. Sports rarely let its biggest legends choose the terms of their own exit. This tournament was no different. He arrived as the sport's most decorated active player and left the same way, minus one specific trophy. That gap will likely follow the conversation about his career for as long as the sport keeps score. It won't erase what came before it. 2 decades of goals, titles, and record books rewritten repeatedly. Football has a habit of remembering both things about its greatest players, together, not one instead of the other. For the team that beat him, the celebration was understandably about their own advancement, not his ending. For neutral viewers, though, the storyline of the day was obviously the ending, not just the final score. 19 touches became almost instantly a kind of shorthand for how quietly a great career can actually close. Numbers like that rarely make highlight reels, but they often say more than the goals ever could. A 20-year international career doesn't end because of one bad match. It ends because bodies eventually do. Every great athlete eventually plays a version of this exact match, whether the cameras notice it or not. Most of those matches don't get 6 World Cups of build-up and a pre-match retirement announcement attached. This one did, which is part of why 19 touches became a story instead of a forgettable stat line. Context turns an ordinary number into a memorable one. That's true in sports as much as anywhere else. The team he leaves behind now moves forward without its most decorated player for the very first time in years. Whoever inherits that captaincy inherits both an opportunity and a set of very large boots to fill. That transition, more than any single stat line, is probably the more important story going forward. For now, though, this tournament's specific chapter of that story is closed, quietly, at 19 touches. 20 years from now, people will mostly remember the trophies, the records, and the one trophy that never arrived. That's usually how legacies actually settle, long after the immediate box score stops mattering to anyone. The next generation of stars is already stepping into the spotlight this tournament briefly shared with him. The sport moves on quickly. It always has, no matter how large the player stepping away happens to be. What doesn't move on quite as fast is the specific image of that final emotional ovation.
Some endings are dramatic, decided by a single moment of magic in the very last minute available.
Others are quiet, decided mostly by 19 touches and a body that finally couldn't do what it once did. Both kinds of endings belong to the same sport, and eventually to every single player who plays it.